Hi, I'm Rihanna, and welcome to Rihanna's Fiber Arts. In today's video, we're going to be tackling my mending pile. Got a few things to go through, so let's talk about the plan. First up is this pair of socks. I had previously tried mending them by needle felting. It did not hold up well, so I'm going to go over and darn the toes and the bottom of the heel where they're starting to wear. Next up, I have a skirt with a small tear in it. It is just a small straight tear that follows the grain of the fabric. So I'm just going to go over with an invisible mending stitch and hopefully hide it. Next, I have this skirt, which is coming undone at the hem. The hem stitching is starting to pull out. So I just need to go through, re-roll it, and then tack that hem stitch back down. Honestly, it will probably take longer to iron it than to actually stitch it, which is why I have been putting it off. The last skirt in the pile I have to fix is this one. I haven't actually worn it yet. I got it secondhand, and it's got a bunch of tears in it, but they're all close to the top of the skirt. So my plan is to remove the waistband and the pockets and then just cut the torn part off the skirt, redo the pleats, and sew the waistband on a little lower so the skirt's just a little shorter. It's long enough that that should be fine. Next up, I have this pair of linen trousers to mend. They're starting to get worn out and pill on the inner thighs. So I'm just going to go over them with some reinforcing patches to hopefully make them last longer. Then I have this pair of pants, which got some rip color remover across the front of them when I was working on another project. So I'm going to try color removing the whole pants and then re-dyeing them. And then I want to turn them into joggers and use them as gym pants. Lastly is another pair of pants, which is fraying at the cuffs and the elastic's starting to come out. So I'm just going to take the cuff out and give them a regular rolled hem. So that's the pile. That's the plan. Let's get started. I'm in my kitchen. I've got my pot of water steaming, but not quite boiling. And I'm going to add the RIT color remover and be very careful not to breathe it in. This pot that I'm doing this in is my dye pot. It is never used for food. It is just for fabric. Very important. Don't dye things in your soup pot and then turn around and make soup in them. Not good for you. So now that that's all mixed in, gonna add in the pants. I was smart, and this time I wore clothes that it doesn't matter if I get a little splash on them. I'm just in my pajamas, it doesn't matter if I have a little bleach stain on this t-shirt. That's actually better because it will soak up everything more evenly if it's already a little damp. Just make sure there's no dye remover left. It's all rinsed and cleaned. And then I'm just going to let this simmer and steep for an hour and then see where it's at and maybe leave it longer. I have finally finished all of the mending. Let's take a look. So for starters, the socks. I started doing a regular woven darning stitch, which is what you guys saw in the video. And then I got bored of doing that. So on the second sock, there was more of the wool from the original felted patch left on it. So I tried some Scotch darning over the top just to hold the wool down instead. And I really like the way the heel turned out. But this was my first time doing Scotch darning. So the first row on the toe patch, I did backwards. So it doesn't have this distributed stitch on the edge. It's got the solid line on the edge. So I'm afraid that is gonna bother me, but we'll see. And hopefully this wears well because this was a really enjoyable way to do the darning. I had more fun doing this than the woven darning. And I like that it's one on each sock because now these socks are going to function as an experiment to see which type of darning holds up better. The next thing was this skirt. This one was super simple, just re-rolling part of the hem. And then I went around and sewed down the entire hem with just a straight stitch on the machine so that it didn't come unrolled in a different spot. So the bottom hem is now very secure on this skirt. The next skirt that was probably the most work out of all of these was this one, where I was cut the top off to rework it. Remove the waistband and cut a couple inches under the waistband line so that I could sew the bottom piece to the old fabric as opposed to right on the waistband. So if you look really closely, you can see there's a little bit of a line, kind of a double seam where the old skirt material is. But you have to really look to see it. I got pretty close, so that doesn't bother me. And then the other issue I ran into was where I folded the waistband over to hide the button and make the waist a little smaller. There was a weird puckering right here, but I just made a little patch and hand stitched it on to hide that. And now you can't see it at all. And it's a cute knee length skirt. I'm really happy with how this turned out. And I am glad it's a knee length now, because when it was full length, these two skirts were kind of the same thing. So now it distinguishes them a little bit more. There's a full length and a knee length. The last skirt that I worked on was this one, which was just that little tear. It took less than 10 minutes to mend. I had just been putting it off. And there is a little bit of puckering because I just did a ladder stitch to close it up, but the skirt, it's a full circle skirt, so it's really flowy and you don't notice it at all. In fact, when I was folding it before sitting down, I wanted to fold it with the mend facing up, and it took me forever to even find it. I spent 2 or 3 minutes just looking for where I had mended it. So between the pattern and how full the skirt is, you can't tell it's there at all. The linen trousers with the reinforcement patch, I'm really happy with how this one turned out as well. I probably could have shaved off more of the pilling before I did the patch, but it's okay the way it is. And you really don't see the stitching at all. I used a light gray thread that I had, and it blends in really well with the tone of the pants. And then even if you could see it, it's hidden when you're wearing them in between your legs. You don't, unless I was sitting cross-leg or something, you would never see it. And the material I used for the patch is just some really sturdy woven cotton. I thought it was a sheet when I bought it secondhand, but upon working with it, I think it's actually one of the cotton drop cloths you use for painting. But I naturally dyed it in a natural dye experiment with tannins, and I think this one I used dried privet berries. I don't really remember, but it was one that came out just a pale yellow, so I had leftovers and used that for the patch on the inner thighs, and it's really hard wearing and should make these pants last quite a bit longer. For the green pants, as you saw, all I did was cut the bottom of the elastic off and then roll them so that it was a loose pant instead of a jogger. For my trouser pants, I don't really like the joggery look. I think it looks kind of more athletic. So I prefer the open cuff on these just to wear as a pair of trouser pants. They've got nice welted pockets and pleats in the front. And I think they look really nice now. And I saved the elastic from those cuffs and used them to put cuffs into these pants, because these pants are going to be gym pants. So I wanted them cuffed at the bottom to wear to the gym. This was the other garment that was kind of more work than the other ones. So we color stripped it, we tan and dyed it, and I talked about maybe over dyeing the tannins with some madder root, but I actually really like the color it came out with just the tannins. So at least for now, I'm going to leave it just this nice, natural, warm tan color from the tannins. And then on the bottom, I reused those cuffs from the green pants. And then when I was taking out the rolled hem, because I'm kind of short, so I had hemmed them up a couple rolls. And I took that out to do the cuff because you want them a little longer when they're joggers. I was impatient with my seam ripper, and I did snag a couple spots on the bottom. So all I did was use that same cotton drop cloth material I used on the other linen trousers and just patched it. At some point, I probably will go over it, maybe with some Scotch darning, because that's kind of my new favorite thing now. But for now, I have a seam locking it in place so it won't get any bigger and a patch behind it. And it's way down on the cuff, so no one's going to notice it anyway. And now I have another great pair of linen pants to wear to the gym. That is all of my mending pile complete. And now I have some clothes to wear again, other than just the jeans I've been wearing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.